Hello everyone. In the last video, we talked about sound games that you can play with your child to introduce the concept of phonics. Now once the child is able to clearly identify the first sound of a word, he or she can be introduced to the letter symbols. For this, the Montessori system makes use of sandpaper letters. In this system, the child is taught the sounds of the letters before the letter names, and also lowercase letters are taught before uppercase letters because those are what children will need for most of their reading and writing. They will learn the capital letters in the due course. The sandpaper letters are the best tools for a child to learn the letter symbols. They provide a multisensory way of teaching letter sounds. This method combines visual, auditory and kinesthetic learning. The child's brain retains information much better when more than one sense is involved in the reception process simultaneously. Children find it much easier to learn this way. They are seeing the letter, hearing its sound and also feeling it at the same time. In this video, I'll be showing you DIY alternatives to the sandpaper letters which will serve the purpose just as well. You can of course buy the sandpaper letters, but they are expensive. For this, I've taken a foam board here. You can use thick cardstocks as well. Then I cut out some squares and wrote down the letters on them with a pencil. Now there are two ways I follow to give the touch and trace effect. In the first method, I used homemade puffy paint to give the sensory experience of the letter. I'll leave the recipe of the paint in the description box. It is super easy to make. And then I squeezed out this paint onto the letters using a piping bag made out of plastic cover. You can also use a squeeze bottle to do this. Then let the letters dry for a few hours. The Montessori sandpaper letters have red frame for the vowels and blue for the consonants. I've used pink color for the vowels and blue for the consonants. For now, I'm only doing small letters with my son. For the second method, I took a colored chalk and ground it into a bowl of salt. Now I've got a blue sand-like mixture here. I wrote down the letters as before and then squeezed some white glue onto the letter. I then poured the prepared salt mixture onto the letter and left it for a minute or so. I tipped the excess salt into the bowl and here I have my letter. Letters are introduced in different groups to the child, 3 or 4 at a time. This is the grouping system that I follow. For introducing the sandpaper letters to your child, take any 3 letters from any of these groups and do the 3-period lesson as I'll be showing you now. In the first period, you take just one letter out at a time, trace the letter and sound it for the child. The child repeats after you. If the child finds it difficult to trace, you can lend a hand. Repeat this as many times as you think is needed. And do the same with the other letters. Here I am working with the letters I, J and Y with my son. I had already introduced the letters to him and done the first and second periods, but since he showed some confusion, I am starting all over from the first period now. This is J. What is this? Can you say? J.
J.
Okay. Can you say J?
J.
Okay.
Let me I take it to my husband.
This is E. Okay. Can you say E?
E.
This is Y.
Okay.
Can you say Y, Arman?
Y.
Yes. And Shrey. In the second period, you bring all the 3 letters together and ask the child to point to a letter and trace it. You can also encourage the child to sound the letter. The second period is usually the longest. This one can even go on for days. Use different words in your questions to make it interesting to your child, like can you point to, can you trace, can you touch, etc. After a lot of practice with the second period, you can move on to the third period. Arman, can you show and trace J? Can you say J?
J.
Oh, can you show and trace E? Can you show and trace Y?
Okay.
In the third period, you point to a letter and ask the child to name it. An important thing to remember is, if the child makes a mistake at the second or third stage, do not correct immediately. Instead, stop the activity, thank the child, and then start all over from the first period the next time in order to correct the child. What is this? Loudly.
J.
Okay, can you trace J? Okay. Now, what's this?
E.
Okay. And what's this one? The 3-period lesson leaves a strong impression of the letters in the child's mind. Today's video ends on the note that it's not the age of the child that matters, but the readiness of the child. Hope you liked the video. Thanks for watching.